In this video, we're going to see if the Tone Master Pro can crank. Hey guys, I'm Dr. McFarland and welcome back to the channel. I am here with the Tone Master Pro in front of me and my Reverend Sensei. We're just going to start adding in some amps and crank them up all the way and see which models sound the best. So let's just start off with the top of the list here. We're going to go with the classic Bassman. And the easiest way to edit anything is just to tap on the block that you want to edit and then use the encoders here to make all your changes. Now, pretty much on any amp, your clean tones are going to live within the lower range of your gain or volume knob. Then as you start cranking them up, maybe closer to 10, 11, or 12, whatever numbers are on the dial, you're going to hear more gain added in. So what we need to do in this situation, since we do have an amp level, if you have the clean sounds, it's okay to have your amp level up a little bit higher. But as you start cranking up the amp, you want to turn down the amp level to compensate, and it pretty much acts like a master fader on a mixing board or audio interface. Okay, so here's a clean sound on the Fender Bassman, but you can kind of tell it's not really all that clean, is it? So we're going to lower the volume till we get a clean sound. And I am using some real hammer pickups in the Sensei, so they are a little bit harder and tend to push amps pretty easy. Let me go to the middle position, and then the neck. So even at low settings, you can hear it's pretty woolly. Let's just start cranking it up here. So this is in the 20-ish area. Let's bring it up on both channels. And these channels are jumped. So already we can hear this pretty cranked. Let's raise the treble up and maybe lower the bass. And let's just go for it. Let's go all the way up. Okay, now that is a sound. It may not be the one that you were hoping for, or you just maybe don't like it at all, but that is the sound we have. Now, if I've ever played through a Bassman, it's been a very long time, and I just don't know what a cranked Bassman is supposed to sound like. So that is kind of fuzzy, very broken up to me. Sounds like the speaker's going to explode. It is what it is. So let's lower the mids just a tad. Okay, now we really didn't have to adjust our amp level at all, because once you start cranking the amp that much, you're essentially adding so much compression into the circuit that the speaker's compressing, everything is just kind of cooking, and you're oversaturating those tubes. Very interesting. Let's look at the cab option here and maybe go with the S57, get a little brighter sound. Now at this point, we do want to pay attention to the low and the high cuts. So any kind of flub that you hear in the signal, you can just roll that out on the microphone itself. And then also, with pretty much any modeler, you want to roll off a lot of that high end, anywhere from 5 to 6K, just depending on how much high end you want. So we can go all the way down to 1K, which is pretty dark, but as we start rolling it up, and we can put this on the cap, which is going to be the brightest setting it can be at. Alright, now let's actually go back to our volume and our normal. And let's just roll the normal all the way down and just listen to the bright channel. much like that. It sounds good. Let's test out the normal channel now with the bright all the way down. Okay, so it's pushed. It's very fuzzy in the low end there, but it is what it is. So now at this point, it's good to find the extreme and then just back it off a little bit. And that's a good rule of thumb for pretty much any amplifier. So let's go down to about 80 or so. Because once you've reached a certain level of distortion, you really don't get more distortion. You just get more noise and more compression. So you can really just dial it back and find that sweet spot. So just for a good example, in the 40 range, that's not any more distortion than what it is already cranked up. Other than it just being kind of filthy and rude. But if you really want to back it off, there's still plenty of gain on tap, even at the lower settings. And the notes will be more intelligible and just everything will sound a little cleaner, a little more separation in the notes. Okay, let's do the same thing with our bright channel. Let's bring it up to that 30-ish range. You can really mess with the treble and the presence to just get all that high-end crunch going. All right, very cool. For one good experiment, we can add in a tube screamer, and that just helps push even more mids. But we are going to lower the drive all the way, bring the level all the way up, and the tone in the middle, something like that. And then I will also go to foot switch assign and assign that on and off, so that way I can access it a little bit easier. Okay. So there's our green box there. So here it is without the green box. And with it. All right. That's a good experiment. Let's go ahead and save this, and we'll just call it cranked for now. All right, there we go. So there's our Bassman head, and there's really not a way to store individual block settings like I can on other devices. So maybe that'll be a feature coming up soon. It's just never easy to tell, but that would be a great thing to do, to be able to store those settings, and then I can just call them back up later. But for now, let's just go and replace this amplifier. Let's go to a Princeton Reverb. We're just going to use the combo amp versions. We're not going to mess with heads and cabs and stuff like that. So this is a 1x10, and it's a smaller speaker, and it is going to break up slightly differently than a larger speaker, even though the previous amp, the Bassman, had 4 10s in it. This only has 1 10. So it's a smaller cabinet size, it's a smaller speaker, and it's just going to react differently to different levels of volume. So let's bring the volume down to a cleanish area in between 2 and 3 on the dial. And we can use our amp level here to juice that up a bit. Okay, so for those guys who love clean tones, that's a good one to do. But let's just go ahead and crank it up all the way. lower our amp level. Now that's a very, very flubby sounding speaker and just low end in general. So let's lower the bass all the way down to 0. And I'm going to hold out a chord, and there's a little bit of weird something going on in the sound, but I think you'll be able to hear it. So there's a fizziness in the low end that's, I don't know, I can't really explain what that is. I'm not an engineer, I'm not an amp designer. Maybe it does that in real life, I'm not really sure. But on other solid state amps that I have, the higher gain ranges can tend to do that little weird, distorted, fizzy something that doesn't sound tubey, it doesn't sound analog, it sounds something digital, something solid state. So you take that for what it is, but like for with all things, I find the extreme and then just dial it back. So let's go back to around like the 8 range on the knob. Okay, that sounds pretty decent. Let's crank the treble all the way up. Yeah, not too bad. Let's go with the green box on. Okay, so you're really going to hear that in the decay of the amplifier. It is what it is. So we can probably reduce it a little bit more, maybe in the 5 range. Bring the treble back down. Bring the bass back up a little bit. Okay, let's compare that back to the 100% or the 100 setting. So it's very pushed, very aggressive. Move it back to the 5. So let's go to the Deluxe Reverb now. The Bassman was more wattage, and the Princeton is less wattage. So now we're bumping up just a little bit more to about I think a 18 to 22-ish watt amp. That is the Deluxe Reverb. Don't quote me on that. You can Google how much wattage a Deluxe Reverb is. So let's start with the clean tone so you can get a good reference point. And let's turn off that green box. Okay, there we go. Let me save this real fast. Not gonna blow over my amp settings now. So that's a nice clean tone. Let's see what happens if we go up to about 3-ish or so, 3.5. A little bit more of a fuller sound, more in your face. Let's go to the middle pickup. Very sparkly. Let's roll the bass contour off a little bit so it cleans up the low end. Yeah, it's still very nice. So you can get some good clean tones in that 3 to 4 range on the dial, but as we crank it up, here it is on 10. Okay, it's a lot, so let's roll the bass off. We do have a 12-inch speaker on this sucker, so let's maybe move it away and put it on the cap. And maybe do a MD421. MD421s and 57s are going to naturally roll off more bass, but they're also going to accentuate the mid-range slightly differently. So that's very honky versus the MD421, which I'm going to like that sound for the cranked amp. So let's stick with the MD421 on these things. So to me, that's a very convincing cranked amplifier. I don't hear a lot of that digital weirdness that the Princeton had. Let's just check that one more time. So here's a G chord ringing out. Yeah, so it has some good harmonics bouncing around and it sounds good. Rarely would I really crank it that much. I do like to find the extreme and then just back it off. Let's go back to 8. Okay, here it is on 6. Yeah, I could live with that. Let's go to the green box on. There you go, guys. That is exactly why the Deluxe Reverb is used on countless stages all over the world and also in studios. It's just a workhorse of an amp. You can get great cleans out of it, great overdrives, kick it with pedals. It just eats it alive all day. So, great amp. Really good. So, let's go on to another one. Here's a Super Reverb. Now, based on my Hot Rod DeVille knowledge, those are about 60 watts. Not quite sure what a Super Reverb is right off the top of my head. But I almost bought one from Guitar Center one time, and then I picked it up and immediately took it back to the demo room because it was just too heavy. The price was good. I just did not want to deal with the weight of carrying around an amplifier, especially at the time when I lived in an apartment. So it's not going to work. But in this case, I can easily use the Tone Master Pro anywhere with headphones or low levels, and I can get by just fine. So that's worth the price tag alone right there. All right, let's go to our cab real fast, and let's make sure that MD421 is selected. So I do like that option. Let's go ahead and save it. Save and save often, as Steve Serlacci often says. At least he should. So here we go. All right, so let's bring the volume down. All right, now at this point, we do want to crank up the amp level so we can hear the amp in fuller volume, even at lower volume settings on the amp itself. Okay, our bass is down pretty low. The middle is up, so let's turn the mids down back to a 50-ish range. Alright, so that's a good overall clean sound in the 3 area. Let's raise it up to about 4. And don't really worry about the number here. I'm just looking at the number on the dial on the actual amp. Okay, we can lower our amp level back down. Okay, let's just go ahead and crank it all the way up to 10 on the dial. All right, so I'm going to stop it there. Otherwise, I'll be here all night. It does have a lot of sustain going on when you just hold out a chord, but there is some kind of digital something underlying in the sound. It is what it is. Let's lower the bass all the way, because the more gain you have, the less bass you need. And I've been saying that for years in my head rush videos, and it's just a good rule to live by. So. Okay, now it sounds a little thin, so let's raise the bass just a touch. Okay, let's see what other settings we have. Nothing else other than intensity and speed. So. All right, I think this amp sounds great cranked up. Let's turn the bright on. And now let's slowly back down the volume to 8. And turn it down to about 5. All right, so the 4 to 5 range starts getting into the clean, slightly broken up area, but you can still get a good clean sound when you lightly touch the strings. And that's also on the neck pickup. All right, sounds good to me. Lots of options there. A twin reverb. This thing is a 100-watt beast, or 100-ish. Maybe 120 watts, something like that. Let's go over here, make sure we have our MD421. I just like the sound of that overall. Turn it down to about 3. Turn the amp level up. Okay, we can turn the bright off. Lots of options for EQ. All right, that works. Let's go ahead and crank it. Bridge pickup. All right, lots of flub. Let's turn the bass all the way down. Now it's too thin. Bring it back up a little bit. Put on the cap. You also have the option for on and off axis. And each time you bring in a new amp, the low and high cuts are restored to default. So we need to bring that back down about 5K or so. And there's really not an option to save anything. So come on, Fender. We need to be able to save our settings, so that way we can keep all that every time we make a new preset. Okay, that works. So it's not too awfully bright. Okay, that sounds pretty good for a cranked up twin. Let's try a different overdrive now. Let's turn that off. Let's go back to effects. Let's try the Nobles in this case. Drive down, level up, bass cut on. Okay, go to foot switch assign, plus, on, off, Nobles, confirm, yes, back, back, back. Okay, save it. So once you do these things over and over, it's just muscle memory. It's pretty easy to get around the screen and learn what to do and what not to do. So in this context, both pedals sound pretty identical. Maybe just a little bit of nuance in the mid-range, but it's not a big deal. Let's go back to around 8. And then let's go down to around 6. And then clean it up, go into a middle position. And then the neck. So lots of nuance in there, anywhere from like 4 to 6. You can get some early breakup kind of stuff. Great for recording, great for lots of different options. All right, let's go in and replace this amp with bass breaker stuff is cool. Let's just do a Blues Junior real fast, then we'll start getting to some other amps. Hello. So with this amp, we actually have a fat switch, a volume, and a master. Sometimes if you want more power amp distortion, you want the master up before the actual volume is. So let's keep the volume down and turn the master up. Okay, let's turn the bass down a little bit, start cranking up the volume. Yeah, I could use that sound in a recording for sure. It sounds good. Let's turn the master down just a little bit. Yeah, I can definitely see that amp paired up. Maybe record it on the left side, record a different amp on the right side, and get a good stereo spread when you're recording. Yeah, sounds good. And I've actually owned probably 3 Blues Juniors over the last 20 years or so. And most of them have sounded boxy to me. One that did not. One sounded pretty decent, but I ended up selling it anyway, just because I wanted something else. But there's plenty of guys in Nashville that will mod these amps and make them sound really, really good. But I mean, you're paying pretty much double what the original, what they're originally worth anyway. So if it's worth it to you, go for it. But I say just put your money elsewhere. So here's a fat switch on. Okay. I did not change the microphone. Let's just do that real fast. So that has more mid-range. Yeah. Pretty cool, man. All right, let's get into a Vox. Let's go with the Brilliant channel. And here's a clean sound starting off. Pretty low, amp level up. Now, you can get good clean sounds out of these, but they're really just meant to be cranked. Pretty cool. Let's go back to our tried and true. High cut down. Now, one thing you can do with the low cut is bring it up to start sounding thin and then back it off. So most people say you can cut up around 80, but I say just keep going up until it rolls off too much and then just back it off a little bit and you're in a good spot. Especially if you're recording, I mean, there's all kinds of ways to dial in your sound and just really hone it in. As soon as you get a big kick drum, big bass guitar going, you don't need all that low end on the amplifier anyways. So that's a good crank sound. Let's roll it off. Cool. I like it. That's a good Vox. Let's go with the British Plexi. You know, these things can crank. These also have two different volumes on them. So let's go with volume 1 for right now. Here's what a clean sound would sound like on a Plexi. All right, let's go ahead and crank it up. Okay, bass down, middle, and treble all the way up. Maybe the middle halfway. I've never really been a huge Marshall guy, but make sure all this stuff is off here. Let's go here and here. Okay, still got MD 421 going on. Let's take the high cut down. Low cut, maybe around 100. Okay, volume 1 down, volume 2 up. Okay, this is darker sounding already. Okay, so maybe we do half C's on this. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, obviously, these other amps are meant to crank, because that's just what they do. They're more heavy gain type stuff. Let's go with the Friedman here. Go to our cab, make sure we, actually the low and high cut settings were retained on that one. It's a miracle. Let's change the microphone. Maybe do a SM57. Change my mind. Okay, fine with that. Let's turn the gain down a bit. All right, now with these high gain amps, it's you really don't need to turn the gain up very much because you're already into that first gain stage, maybe second gain stage, depending on wherever the knob is and how the amp is designed. And you can hear right there that even though I turn the gain all the way up, I'm not really getting that much more gain. I'm just adding more noise, more fizz, stuff like that. So keeping it down in the 2 to 4 range, maybe cranking your master up a little bit more, that's should be all you need for these high gain amps. Let's go to our green box. Okay, I have no idea what I was playing right there, but you'll forgive me, I'm sure. All right, let's go back to our amp. Let's do one more to end the video here. Let's go to a 5150 red channel. And same thing, let's just turn the gain down pretty low. So lots of low end. We can probably stand to turn down the lows. Presence and highs all the way up. Maybe push the mids a little bit. And then go and adjust our microphone. High cut, low cut. Back to our presence and highs. That we don't need to crank as much because we changed the microphone position. So there you go. This probably want to just adjust the mic first and then adjust things on the amp. Because depending on where that microphone is, it will drastically alter your perception of what the sound coming from the head actually is. Okay, and let's do the green box. Alright guys, that is my tutorial on how to crank amps on pretty much any modeler, not just the Tone Master, but crank them up all the way, find their limits, bring them back just a little bit, and just find a good sweet spot for each amp. And like I said, hopefully Fender will add the ability to create presets on a per block basis. So that way, if you put in your Tube Screamer, you can always have the same preferred settings. Also, maybe any amp or any other effect for that matter. So if you want to see more videos on the Tone Master Pro, be sure to subscribe down below. Click the bell. I got affiliate links in the description. A website full of products that is there to educate and inspire to be a more confident musician. And until next time, I'm Dr. McFarland. I'll see you in the next video. Keep rocking.